Alrighty. Hey, how's it going, everyone? 86 Boxing Haven. We're here for another edition of the podcast where we're going to discuss boxing, everyone's favorite sport. Little do they know. But anyway, how's it going, Slaven? How's Norway treating you these days?
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, can't complain. The weather is pretty good. Pretty. Yeah.
Now, is it warm weather or does it actually get hot there or is it typically kind of just
Well,
mid?
last week we had some really hot temperatures, but this week it's kind of not too hot, but warm enough, kind of
Okay.
moderate. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Not bad. Yeah, we've had some hot weather here, and that is, I guess, kind of mixed in to cause a lot of thunderstorms. So
Oh,
it's just going to rain here shortly. I guess thunderstorm as well, but it is
oh,
what it is.
yeah.
So, all right, so we're here. We're gathered here today again to discuss the crazy action in the boxing. I know a lot of stuff has been going on. I think we may have left off maybe about at least 2 to 3 weeks back, and there's a lot of things that have taken place since then, fight wise. Some of the action I may miss, but some, I guess I'll be on. I just went to BoxRec to just kind of pull up some of the results, and hey, maybe we can talk about those and some of the things coming up. Um,
Yeah.
and to kick things off, one that was of significance to a certain degree in the heavyweight division took place on Saturday the 5th. That was when Daniel Dubois made his long-awaited return to take on Bogdan Dinu.
Yeah.
Have you been able to catch that fight?
No, 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 not yet. But
Okay.
I know what happened. It didn't. It wasn't much of a fight. So
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, Dubois had a second round KO. I actually was able to catch that fight. As a matter of fact, I had been out that day and I actually came in just in time for their walkout. So I was able to catch
no,
it. And
cool.
I'm sure you've probably seen, yeah, you've probably seen the fact that Dubois, of course, we didn't really see enough to really make a true assessment on where he stands now since that loss. But he came out confident, and it looked as though he wasn't worried about the jab or anything of that nature coming back to that eye that has been healed now at this point, and he kind of just stuck with his game plan from previously in the fights where he was pressed on offense, and he ultimately
Mm.
ended up getting Danu out of there, and of course, he did it in more spectacular fashion than some of the others that have faced Danu. I know Jarrell Miller beat him, as well as I believe may have been Goulian
Cool.
Ortiz or Pulev. Pulev, yep, you're right. Pulev, yep, Kubrat Pulev. So Dubois looked the best out of all of them thus far, but of
Yeah.
course the verdict's still out in terms of how he handles, someone with the power of, say, a Joyce who can actually move around as well. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I think Dubois is very good against guys who also come forward like typical brawlers. He's a really strong, rather formidable offensive fighter. He
Mhm.
can punch, of course, but when he has to, we saw against Joyce when he faces someone who does some, boxing and moving, he tends to struggle a bit anyway. It's not like he
No.
was, really found out. I wouldn't say he was really exposed against Joyce, but
Yeah,
he didn't really look as comfortable as usual. Anyway, fighting
yeah.
Joyce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And I had to double check, but I know this was his first fight under Shane McGuinn.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and, the question was how he would look, but I don't think we really saw enough in this short fight to get a true assessment,
Yeah.
especially carrying on to the later rounds, because really prior to the Joyce fight, we hadn't seen Dubois go into really deep waters with someone challenging,
Mm.
and of course, that didn't happen in this fight as well. I just want to see how he bounces back when he steps that competition up a little bit more, and he seems to be willing to do so. It'll just be interesting to see how he reacts to that because he's still very young, and
Mm.
so he has the sky is the limit as far as the heavyweight division. And by the time he hits what could be considered his actual prime or whatever, there may be some belts available, and some of the other top guys right there might be a foot out the door, at the heavyweight division. So it'll be interesting to see how he continues to develop.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why he lost that fight to Joyce is that he is so young, and rather unexperienced, especially compared to Joyce, who was like what was he, 33, 34 when he turned
Yeah,
pro. So he had so many fights in the amateurs before
yeah,
that, and he's just got really vast boxing experience compared to Dubois. So that was also one of the factors, I guess, why Dubois, didn't succeed in beating him down. I guess, but there is also the size and the chin factor, also.
oh yeah.
I would say so. It was simply a wrong opponent for him, but yeah, I think at least he should have waited a little more to face Joyce, the juggernaut.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're both in agreement that, of course, stylistically, he went out there a little too aggressively, thinking that
Yeah,
he was going to get him away. But I think some guys
yeah,
with power tend to find out sort of the hard way when they step it up a level.
yeah. And for a while, it kind of looked like he would succeed. Like in the sixth
Right.
round, I believe he had some very good punches and hurt Joyce, but Joyce has really got an iron, cast iron chin,
Yes.
they call it. And a huge guy, of course, very experienced, so he just knew how to beat the boy. So that's
Yes.
what he
Yep.
did.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff. So yeah, we'll see what happens next. I know Frank Warren after the fight, and I guess Dubois himself. They were saying that hey, they want a step up competition wise if he feels like he's ready to get up in there. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. And I think there are a lot of
Mm.
sort of fringe contenders there on the outskirts of the top 10 and all of that stuff that he can get in with to continue to build up that confidence before he ultimately gets an opportunity at Joyce or one of
Yeah,
the other top guys out there.
there's that guy, Tony Yoka, who is supposed to be
Oh
one
yeah,
of the best European and you know one of the best new, shall we say,
Tony
heavyweights.
Yoka. Yep.
Very tall guy and a good puncher and everything. I guess good boxer maybe also.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I know that he beat Hrgovic in the only in the Olympics. I guess it was semi-finals or
Oh,
something like
okay.
that.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it was a good fight, but I think he stopped Hrgovic in the end. I believe. I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah, he's been looking pretty good so far, Yoka. So
Yeah, yeah, I've caught some of his fights. I believe is he out of France? Is that where he's out of, or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that? And
France.
yeah, he does have the sort of size, the look, and everything, and he can move pretty decently for a heavyweight. So
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't know about him beating Hergovich, which I would say is definitely a good win. Of course, set the tone, even if it was on the amateur side. So yeah,
yeah,
that'll be interesting, and I feel like they're building him up properly as well. So it'll be interesting to see if he's matched up with one of these sort of fringe contenders or one of these sort of outskirt top guys next. I think that'll be interesting to see, or potentially a
yeah.
Daniel Dubois, which they probably want to wait on, for something like
Who has a French last name? I
that.
believe they
Yes,
they usually pronounce it Dubois. That's why I
Dubois.
in one earlier podcast I call him Dubois. But since you call him Dubois, I figure I might also as well call him. There is no there is no confusion.
Well, you know, us Americans butcher names all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
uh, is it Slaven or Slaven?
Yeah, Slaven, Slaven.
All right,
You know,
got it.
it's kind of interesting. Some Americans have gotten it right, but some also call me Slaven. So it's a
Yeah,
kind of
that's what I
yeah,
always do. Slaven from Vaxen Haven. Slaven
yeah.
and
But
Haven go
that
together.
sounds cool because it rhymes. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
better
That's
than
funny.
Slaven from Boxing Haven.
Slaven. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Cool, cool. All right. I'm just looking here again. Sunday, June 6th. So I actually watched that Mayweather card, that Mayweather Jake Paul card, fight of the century there. And on there, they did have two legitimate fights, which was Jared Hurd taking Luis Arias, as well as Badu Jack against Derwin Kalina, even though I hadn't seen Kalina. And it was meant to be, of course, Badu Jack versus John Pascal, who apparently tested positive
hmm.
for about four banned substances. I don't know the particulars surrounding that here in the aftermath, but he was kind of pulled out right then and there. And that, of course,
Sorry.
bless you. Bless you. That, of
Thanks.
course, meant that title was not on the line because, John Pascal has whatever title it
Yeah.
was he got when he fought Marcus Brown. Can't remember the exact one, but that fight ended up
Mhm.
not happening. But Badu Jack, he boxed. He looked well, but he was able with a guy who he was going to sort of dominate and beat regardless of the situation because it was kind of a late replacement. And I know Badu Jack was pissed off about it because of the fact that he wanted that title shot. And he's been
Yeah.
on the unlucky end of title shots in the past.
Definitely. I thought that was so unfair. I know I had him winning that Pascal fight, and
Yeah,
but I really don't know how he could lose that. It was on a Mayweather card, I believe, or something. I don't know, maybe.
yeah,
So
it was.
how do you lose a fight? I mean, like that, you should have won, and it's promoted by your own kind of promoter, and you still lose. I don't get it. Is it because he's not from that place, that country, or whatever? I don't know. He's Swedish, he's from Sweden actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He is a Swede. Yeah, and I was just double checking. So yeah, Pascal has the legitimate WBA title, and he has the WBC silver
Yeah,
title there at light heavyweight. So that's interesting as far as him being banned. I'm guessing he still is going to be in possession of the titles or whatever. And of
yeah.
course, that's
Unfortunately,
unfavorable for Badu Jack in that sense that he wasn't the worst. He wasn't the issue. It was Pascal that was the issue. Yet he still keeps his
yeah.
titles.
But I heard Pascal. Oh no, Jack. He stated that he now wants to go to cruiserweight to win a
Mm.
world title at the third, division. So that's
Oh
his
yeah.
new goal, I believe. That's what
I
he
would
said.
say I would say skill wise he's very good, but
Yeah,
yeah, that'll be a tall task because he's not
the power.
necessarily a powerful guy, and yeah, some of those cruiserweights, they're going to be in there over
Yeah,
200 pounds on fight night,
yeah,
so
and Jack was never, I mean, such a huge puncher, so
yeah,
he's not gonna likely to win by a KO a lot, there in those fights. But who knows? I don't know really.
yeah,
I know,
it is rather interesting, I would say.
yeah. I mean, I know when Nathan Cleverly, for instance, when he
Oh yeah,
went up to cruiserweight, he did score a couple of early KOs, but that was against some bumps, of course. But it
yeah,
seemed
yeah,
like his power had kind of improved, when he went up, because he's a rather big guy, for a light
yeah,
heavyweight.
yeah. He was pretty tall. Yeah, Nathan Cleverly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6'2", something like that.
Okay, yeah, that makes it interesting. Of course, I'm sure Bowdy Jack can be matched properly to get some wins up there, but in order to get a title,
Yeah,
he's going to
they
have to go through like Britis or a Coley, right?
And it's starting to go to kind of rush because he's gonna be 38 in October.
Oh yeah, that is right.
Actually, I didn't know he was that old. So, uh,
Yeah, yeah, shooting up there.
yeah. So in a couple of years, it will be the end of him as a serious, maybe as a serious contender, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, which makes it all the more, I'm sure, depressing and angry for him. The fact that this wasn't for a title shot after, he's waited because it's been over a year, maybe closer to 2 years since that
yeah.
fight with him and Pascal. And I
And
don't know
now,
that Pascal has even
yeah,
fought since then.
I don't think so. I'm
Yeah,
not
he might not have
sure.
fought since then.
But of course, it's clear to me that he was, on the juice because, before that, he was kind of rather easily dismantled by Kovalev, and that was
Oh
kind
yeah,
of 5 or 6 years ago. And now he suddenly starts, winning these big fights again. What's this? I was
yeah.
like, what's this now? What's happening with him?
Yeah, Demetrius Bivol pretty much shut him out,
Yeah,
and I think it was circumstantial in some sense with that Marcus Brown fight as far as it going to the cards, and that kind of helped him get that title. But yeah, he definitely has had a surge that was unexpected. He was practically written off in some sense after the Kovalev fight, So
yeah, he was actually because he also lost to Bernard Hopkins, and that was a long
oh
time
yeah.
ago. And yeah,
Yeah, he's been around. He's seen him come and
yeah,
go at light heavyweight, I guess you can say.
yeah, he's like he should be like also 39 or something. I don't know,
Yeah,
40.
yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah. So yeah, that makes for some interesting stuff right there. So yeah, we'll see
Yeah,
what happens there at 175. And then so Jarrett Hurd, Luis Arias. I don't know if you saw it,
yeah.
but I watched the fight, and
What happened there? I know he lost. What happened?
It was I would say it was a back and forth fight in some
Yeah.
areas. Jared Hurd's working with a new trainer now,
Oh
um,
yeah.
and I know that one of the things is that they wanted to improve upon his boxing, just in general, his boxing fundamentally, his fundamentals as far as boxing is concerned, and then of course the defense is definitely something that he would have to improve upon. So Luis Arias, I don't think a ton of people were expecting him to get this win, and he even said after the fight he's had people telling him he should retire and all that stuff. But he really came in there, dug it out, and he had a relentless mindset about him. So he ended up battling with Hurd in the trenches, and he was getting the better of the offensive exchanges. And I think that with Hurd, what ultimately is or was his downfall was the fact that he came out seemingly with some form of a game plan, wanting to box, and ultimately, by the time the fight ended, he had went back to the Jarrett Hurd of old, and I would say this was probably after like 2 rounds or so, like that. He's that with the Jarrett Hurd of old, whose defense was basically his offense. So, as you know, he would take a lot of punishment as he was fighting coming up, especially at
Yeah.
154, and he went back to sort of that same Jarrett Hurd. Luis Arias was really just battering him on the offensive side to the degree that Herb may have had some of the heavier punches when he did land. But if you're taking so much punishment for your every one or two punches that you're throwing, then it's hard to give you those types of rounds, especially when visually on the defensive side you can see that there is a deficiency with Jared Hurd. So Arias pulled it off, and he was able to get the split decision win.
Yes. I guess what you're saying is that Hurd fought the wrong kind of fight, maybe.
Yes,
Or yeah.
he did. So Luis Arias, he Hurt was boxing early on. Like I said, for about two rounds, two maybe 3 rounds. Luis Arias began to just take over more, and Hurt was taking a lot of shots. similarly in the past, he ran into the same situations with the likes of Lara, Julian Williams, where of
Yeah,
course Hurd has those late surges and spurts where he gets in and he can land some things, but it just wasn't enough of it here against Arias, who really boxed a very good fight. And offensively on the inside, he was much better than Hurd. And I think that played into his favor, especially in the judges. As far as what the judges saw, if you were a judge, of
mm,
course, you would see
yes,
that Hurt was taking a lot of punishment. It may not have been anything overpowering, or it may not have been shots that had snap at all times, but he was eating
yeah,
a lot of shots, and I think that
yeah.
ultimately was the issue.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Judges usually prefer aggression to, I mean, kind of successful aggression rather than you
Yeah.
know boxing or being clever or being defensive.
Yeah, and so with that, Arias gets to win. He gets to move on. Herb, I don't know. Maybe it's back to the drawing board in some sense. I think that he's probably the type of fighter. It's going to be hard to fix that sort of defensive deficiency that he has in terms of when the going gets rough and tough or whatever. He's going to take shots. It's just a matter of how
Yeah.
effectively can he get off his offense, and especially in the sense of trying to box. I think he tends to lean more towards that brawling style once firepower is coming back. And I think that he definitely has a lot of things to think about as far as where he goes from here, because these are right around 154, 160. There is some pretty good competition, so we'll see.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll see.
We shall see. All right. Another one I wanted to bring up was a fight that took place yesterday, actually. Shakur Stevenson against
Right.
Jeremiah Nakatala.
Yeah,
Nakatila.
pretty
Nakatila
difficult
is what it is.
name.
Jeremiah Nakatila. I don't know if
Not
you were able to catch that fight. Were you able to catch that?
no, because it's in USA, so I
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
not able to stay awake. So no,
Hey,
unfortunately, but
understandable,
I will try
understandable.
to find it. Yeah, I will try to find it later.
Yeah, it was
I was yeah
so it was a fairly dominant win for Shakur Stevenson, just from an overall perspective. He got criticized, and I thought some of it was a bit harsh there at the end because of the fact that he didn't take this guy out and he didn't really push for it in a visual manner, of course. And he even mentioned so after the fight that he tried to, but he got caught with something and he chose to play it more on the safe side.
yeah I saw that he scored a knockdown in round four, I believe. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I kind of expected him to take out that guy eventually, but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Nakatia, he was averaging like only like 2 point something punches landed per round.
Oh,
So he was doing a lot of posturing, but he wasn't really throwing much. And when he did throw things, they were usually wide and missing badly. He even
oh
tumbled
yeah.
down a time or two just from swinging so wild. And I think that's part of the reason that some wanted to see Shakur Stevenson really push him,
Beat
because
him
I
up.
think Nakatila may have landed like 9% of his punches throughout
Yeah.
that fight and win all 12. And Stevenson, of course, he looked good. You can see that he has a top notch pedigree and all that stuff. And I think he could actually finish some fighters, which he's done before. I think it could be a case of him kind of playing to the level of his competition in that regard, and
Hmm.
him not wanting to really risk anything because all this guy had was a right hand which seldom landed. But yeah, so Stevenson got criticized for that, and he even apologized on Twitter to his fans and all that. But outside of that, it was sort of like a master class as far as the boxing was concerned. And it's Nakatila guy. He He was from Namibia, so there wasn't much known about him outside of the fact that he seemed to carry some power. But at this level, you could clearly see that Stevenson was well ahead of him.
Mm, a class above, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so Stevenson in the aftermath, he called out, of course, Jamel Herring and Oscar Valdez, and there seemed to be some.
Oh,
It seemed to allude to, I guess, the Herring fight being the one that is potentially made next, which I think would be interesting. Because Valdez, I saw, I guess it was announced a little bit earlier this week that he's going to take on Kuncial. I have to look up his name again. He was a fighter that beat Albert Machado the first two times, but
okay.
yeah, Andrew Concial or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Cancio. Cancio,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's who Oscar Valdez is going to take on in his next match. So that's
Oh,
already been
yeah.
announced. So this leaves, I guess, it open for a potential Shakur Stevenson, Jamel Herring fight.
Oh,
And of
that
course,
would be good.
they worked together and all that stuff in camp and all of that. And Shakir, hey, he's really pushing for it. And I know that Herring did want to take on Oscar Valdez, but since that's not happening, at least probably not this year, then
Mm.
it's a matter of who's next, and it may be Shakur Stevenson. What do you think about that potential matchup, Jamel Herring, Shakur Stevenson?
That sounds pretty good to me, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, Jamel is like, he's kind of in his late 30s or something,
yeah, yeah. He is. He's
36,
about 30, 35, I believe. He's 35.
yeah, so it would be a fight like an older, experienced guy versus a younger, a young lion versus an old lion. So
Mm-hmm.
that's always kind of exciting and interesting to watch. And I guess Jamel Herring is not uh, a really maybe a puncher, even though he now stopped
Yeah,
in the last fight.
Carl
But,
Frampton.
yeah, Carl Frampton. Thank you.
Yeah.
But he doesn't usually win by a knockout. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess Stevenson would be regarded as the puncher in this fight. I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I think he would. And I thought that Jamel Herring's performance in his last fight was impressive. The way he dispatched of Carl Frampton, and
Yeah.
coming into that fight, I thought that Carl Frampton would actually get the W, but it turned out to not be
Mm.
the case. And it was like the perfect game plan for Herring that was put in place, and he boxed absolutely the way he was supposed to, and he really basically sent
Yeah.
Frampton into retirement for the most
So
part. So
yeah, that's right.
yeah,
I think so. I hope so. Anyway, Frampton should not fight anymore. I don't think he should.
yeah, and he did have some unlucky breaks. Frampton it literally
Yeah.
breaks like the hand itself. So unfortunately, the last several years for him have been some rather unlucky years in some
Yeah.
regards. Even though he's been able to stay relevant and continue to get in there with some top guys.
Yeah, and he's had some, I think, management issues with Barry McGuigan, and yeah, that's kind
Oh
of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, and of course, Jamel Herring, it's not like he cannot punch. He can. I mean, he proved that against Frampton, but
oh yeah,
it's not that he doesn't. I guess go for the knockout always. I
yeah.
think maybe that's the why he doesn't have so many knockouts. Man, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing it much like him actually closing in a sort of dominant fashion. That game plan and everything worked out basically precisely against Frampton, which I think it'll be a completely different story with Shakur Stevenson at this point. Not only just from stylistically, but considering they have a connection personally in terms of them basically working sort of in the same camps and stuff with Terrence Crawford, etc.
Oh
Up there
yeah,
with Bomac and crew. So
oh yeah,
I think that makes it interesting, just in terms of that matchup, and then leading up to it, the brashness of Shakur Stevenson and
yeah.
how
That's
Jamel responds to it.
Yeah, he's kind of that kind of guy. While
Yeah,
Herring is a very nice guy, I would say, very humble. Also, that's what he showed against Frank after the Frampton fight, anyway.
yep, yep.
So
And people counted him out, and he bounced back in a major way. So I have nothing but props for
yeah,
him. He's shown that he's at that
yeah,
top level.
he said a couple of losses. I think that's isn't
Hmm.
that so before.
Yeah,
I
he
don't
has.
know.
I think like two of them. I think just two. I don't recall exactly who all beat him, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's just two losses or something of that nature. So
so he really bounced back in really great fashion. That's true.
yeah, yeah, he beat a guy out of this area, Levant Roach, who was an up and coming fighter with Golden Boy, who's going to be back in the ring here shortly, who looked
Oh
pretty good,
yeah,
and Herring was able to beat him. And Herring was dropped in one of the later rounds of that fight, but he was able to recover and maintain and get that decision win. So he has the tools. It'll just be interesting to see how that whole build up to the fight goes between him and Shakur Stevenson,
yeah. I don't
which
think
might,
it will go so peacefully.
yeah, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So also yesterday, Jose Pedraza picked up a stoppage win over uh, Julian Rodriguez, who was an undefeated fighter who came in like I guess 21-0 is what I'm looking at. Yep, 21-0. And
Uh-huh.
Jose Pedraza, he keeps hanging around and doing his thing. Um,
Yeah, that's right.
and it was one of those fights. Yeah, it was the eighth round, so Rodriguez didn't answer the bell after or to start the eighth round, and basically it was the issue with his eye, and he was getting puffed up anyway. But Pedraza, man, he's a crafty fighter, and if you really look at it, his losses, that's against top level competition. Is just like pretty much all of his fights here over the latter part of his career thus far have been against top level competition. So you have to know and assume that helps to make him better as well. So this
Mhm.
was a case of a young up and coming fighter, Julian Rodriguez, he was 21-0 with 14 knockouts. He may have been feeling himself, and they may have thought that hey, Pedraza, he's that type of name, the type of veteran that we can get in there with. We'll probably try and look impressive and get one of these stoppages to see if we can build up to a big
Yeah,
fight, or something of that nature. But
and
not
then
so
he
fast, my friend. It was
got a
not the case.
surprise. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I know that Pedraza, he was knocked out by Tank Davis, right?
Yeah, yeah, he
Before
was.
7 rounds. But that was a good fight. Before that happened,
Yeah, it was.
I saw the highlights once. So yeah, he is definitely no joke, Pedraza. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and he was in there with Lomachenko. Lomachenko beat him, and
yeah, that's right.
Pedraza had his moments. You can just tell that fundamentally he's top notch. I mean, he has a lot of tricks in his tricks up his sleeve. Essentially, a lot of tools in the tool shed, and you can
Mm,
just tell that when he's out there and he has it figured out in terms of what works for him stylistically. It's good at controlling range and everything. So yeah, it's really just top level competition that he's ultimately lost to, and he's beat some top level guys as well.
mm. Yeah, it's true. He's a Puerto Rican, right? So
Yes,
they are kind of known for having some good, I mean, technically good fighters, not just
yeah,
those brawlers, but also some pretty good boxers.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
I kind of well, it's not that I don't like the Mexican fighter, but I kind of always almost prefer the Puerto Ricans a little bit because they
Oh yeah,
they could be also pretty tough, and all that. But they also had some skills. I mean, they could box, not just
oh
fight,
yeah,
brawl.
yeah,
So
yeah. You're right, and and I just looked at it. Yeah, so Pedraza's other loss was to Jose Cepeda. So he's
yeah,
been in with top level competition,
The
and
Pena
he's
is,
looked good at moments doing his thing. So he's still very much a player at 140, and I think this win shows that. And let
yeah,
me see.
yeah. I was surprised. I think in the prediction league that I am in, I think
Yeah,
I picked Pedraza to win on points there, but I'm not sure. Gonna check that. But
yeah, he
I,
would have been winning. Yeah, I think I don't know if they showed the scorecards to it, but he was winning the fight. He was kind of starting to puff up
oh, yeah,
the dude's eyes, which ultimately led to that stoppage. And
right.
I think they said Rodriguez had only been 8 rounds once, and that was the longest he had been. This was stopped right before the eighth, so it made things interesting for sure.
Yeah. Let's see
Pedraza.
what I just trying to see what I had predicted or
Oh
try. Yeah,
yeah,
just yeah, that's right. I predicted him to win by UD unanimous decision.
oh yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah,
Cool. That was a good pick. Then get that W. He showed he was the guy.
yeah,
Um, So another fight that's worth mentioning that happened yesterday, and I didn't catch the fight. I was out, and when I got back, I was like cut it on right as it was over. So I still need to watch it. But Louis Riston,
oh, yeah,
Newcastle's own Louis Riston taking on
yeah,
Jeremiah Ponce. From the highlights that I saw, Ponce was really laying into him, and
yeah.
I don't know if you saw my because I had posted a little press release from this, and I had said Louis Richardson is looking to bounce back after a
Ritson, yeah,
robbery win over Miguel Vasquez in his last fight. Did you just feel
yeah,
like it was a matter of time for Richardson? While he had the backing at fanfare, don't you just feel like it was just a matter of time before he ran into someone who was going to do
yeah.
what
I
Ponce
mean,
did?
definitely. I mean, he has already been exposed against that guy Francesco Patera. He's from
Hmm.
Belgium, a technician, rather tricky guy. So Ritson has been always. I thought his game is kind of you know one one sided, kind of
Yeah,
limited because in that
yeah,
fight, his Patera he was just going to the body and just going driving into the ropes and attacking and banging away. So he didn't
yeah.
have a plan B. That's why he
Yeah,
lost.
yeah, Risson, I think he fares well with more stationary targets,
Yeah.
and guys that aren't really battling back in an aggressive and reckless manner.
Mm.
But I think that yeah, as you mentioned that fight, and then really seeing him in this fight with Miguel Vasquez in his last fight, who was really a measuring stick in the sense that he's one of those guys. He's a veteran guy. He's been in with a lot of top
Yeah.
guys. He has like five, maybe six losses or whatever, but he takes these guys to the distance and he really gives them a good showing and a good true test. And I remember
Yeah.
watching that fight with between him and Ritson, and yeah, there was just nothing impressive done by Ritson, even though he won on the cards. And I know it was controversial because the majority of people I'd seen and interacted with felt that he deserved to lose
Yeah.
that particular fight.
He won by being more active, maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen that fight, but that's. I would kind of guess that's why he won.
Yeah, it was controversial, and this is the one where one of those judges they caught a snapshot of him on his phone, and he was the one who had it in favor of
Oh,
Ritson.
oh yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's. Oh, I didn't know that was in that fight. Oh,
so it was
right.
very home cooking ish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
in UK now it's becoming a little bit of a problem too. That kind of home judging, I would say. It's not that
Yeah,
it happens all the time, but it does happen, a little bit too
yeah,
often, I'd say.
yeah, and
And yeah, you had all these atrocious scorecards, like and then all these draws. I remember there was a time all
Yeah,
these important fights kind of ended in draws in 1 year. Almost everyone,
yeah, yeah. That's crazy. That is
everybody
pretty
got
crazy.
yeah. Everybody in the audience was like woo wooing.
Yeah, I was on Twitter earlier this morning, and one of the guys I follow, he's out of the UK. He was asking, kind of like, "Hey, have the scorecards been released for that Richardson Ponce
Once,
fight?" They
yeah,
haven't been released apparently as of yet. I don't know if anything has changed between the last several hours, but
they are too
people want to
ashamed.
know whether Richardson was actually up on the cards.
Yeah,
Which
like
would be an embarrassment if he was.
98, 90 or something.
Yeah, like come on, the trip is, yeah, it's just one
Yeah,
of those
but
crazy things.
it's pretty, amazing. And when, as we talked about that last time, and when last Parker Chisora fight, I
Oh yeah,
know there were so many in England going, "Oh, Chisora got robbed." But if you see the fight, you will see that that wasn't really
yeah,
what happened.
yeah,
So
yeah. We both were in agreement on that. I think that's the case with that fight. I think the right guy won, and it
definitely,
is what it is.
there's no doubt whatsoever. But that's what
Yeah.
it is, kind of biased,
Hmm.
national bias.
Yep, and and we have it here too over in America. Sometimes some of these guys get home cooking, and that's why they want their
Yeah.
fights staged in certain areas. It can always be a disadvantage in some sense. Just thinking about it, if you're one of these guys who doesn't have a big name and you're coming into someone's territory, and
Yeah,
this person is expected to be sort of that next thing, or at least get to title contention. So yeah, it can be a bit controversial at times.
yeah, you have to win by a knockout or a stoppage,
Yeah.
to get the win
And
there.
this is what Ponce did with Richardson. He took him out to the
Yeah,
body. And I think others are going to go for that, depending on how Richardson ultimately bounces back. And I understand the dynamic behind it because he's out of Newcastle, and of course, and he had a lot of backing
yeah,
and fanfare. So it definitely makes sense from a money perspective to have a guy like that continue to be elevated. And this was for the potential of getting a shot at one of those titles. So yeah.
yeah. I, it's I don't know. Richardson doesn't look like he will ever go get that far. He will probably keep fighting. I mean, kind of British level fighters or European level. That's best for
Yep.
him.
Yep. And,
Kind of,
and they were throwing around the because he fights at 140. So I remember them throwing around the potential of the winner of this fight being the mandatory for Josh Taylor. And could you imagine
yeah,
Rich sitting there with Josh Taylor? Like, I think Josh Taylor would have
massacre.
systematically broke him down. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think somebody else told me that earlier this morning. Yeah, that would have just been a massacre. I think it would have been perhaps
Yeah.
over already after 4 rounds or 5 or 6
Yeah,
at
I couldn't have
tops.
seen anyone favor. I couldn't have seen him being a favorite in any capacity, because he just doesn't have that type of tool set to be able to do anything with a guy like Josh Taylor, who, hey, basically top 10 pound for pound fighter, the elite of the elite, and he's beaten. I think we were
Yeah,
talking about this last time. You name a style, he's beaten it, and hey, got to give him his props. He is one of the 10 best fighters in the world today, and he's shown
yeah,
that the actual hard way by going through, grinding it out, getting those W's.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. I mean, he is unbeaten. He's still has pretty much beaten everybody, almost everyone at 140. I mean, that really is worth beating.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, speaking of that, he is the undisputed champion at 140 now. So the question is, where does he go from here? Now, I know there was a lot of talk and stuff in the immediate aftermath of the fight. I haven't seen much as of late. I've always questioned or wondered or at least from this standpoint of him becoming undisputed, if he would actually, continue to defend the belts, because of course with that undisputed claim, of course now these mandatories come into play and all of that stuff. So it's a question of whether he stays at 140, keeps all belts, or drops some belts like some tend to do, or if he moves up to 147, where there are some pretty much lucrative fights that can be made, because he's pretty much cleaned out 140. Though I
Yeah,
think that some rematches, say with the likes of Prograde, would be very interesting and good, exciting from a fanfare perspective. Even one with Ramirez, but right now, I could see big money wagers going down for a fight between him and, say, Terrence Crawford, who's been thrown out, and both being under the Top Rank banner now, with Taylor signing with Top Rank not too long ago. So that fight seems like it's one that can be made and make sense. Two undisputed 140 pounders, the last two undisputed 140 pounders taking on each other.
yeah, that's right. I mean, Taylor is, as you said, pretty much cleaned out at 140, and he's always been a really, really tall guy for that
Yeah.
division, also. So I don't know how easily he makes the weight. It cannot be that easy now, anyway.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, definitely.
think he may be having one more fight at 140 maybe, or he may just jump straight to 147, which I would
I
really like to see him do.
Yeah. So I think a fight that could be interesting at 140, assuming it happens, and for all intents and purposes, I don't think it would, if he were to take on the winner of Gervonta Davis versus Mario Barrios, against
Yeah,
Barrios. So, and I know a lot of people are favoring Davis. Yeah, I do as well. But it's a question of, is Davis going to stay at 140, and can that fight be made top rank in PBC? Of course,
yeah,
um,
it's a
who
pretty
knows?
big height disadvantage for the ace. Also, would be he fought
Yeah.
Taylor, but I don't know how much that would mean
Yeah,
for him.
it would be interesting. There are other fights I want to see Davis in, but I also want to. I also am unsure of where he intends to campaign in the future, because he kind of just bounced around between 130 and 140 over the last few fights of his. So I don't know
Yeah,
what weight he's actually comfortable at.
yeah, I thought, I mean, when he went to 135, I thought, oh, he's kind of too small maybe for that. But now he's
Yeah,
at 140, like, what?
yeah,
He's 5'5" or 6, whatever, something like that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And
how
he
is
packs a
he?
punch, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know,
So,
really, maybe, I don't know. I would say that perhaps 135 is the best for him right now, maybe. I don't.
and of course, a lot of good fights here can be made at
Yeah,
135, and it always
such a
boils
great.
down to, will they be made? Of course.
Yeah, very, very talented and packed division now. It wasn't always the case, but now it is definitely one of the
You know,
strongest.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about, and sometimes when I join those media calls or whatever, whenever they open it up to different websites or whatever, I wanted to ask, because Eddie Hearn, he's very out there, vocal. One of the questions I want to ask him is, how is it negotiating or dealing with PBC compared to the others? Because there seems to be fights can be made, of course, between like top ranked PBC. We have Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, and then some other fights like between the Zone or Matchroom with, say, Ramirez versus who am I trying to think of at Matchroom? But some Matchroom fighters that he's
Okay.
taking on. But
Yeah, yeah,
anyway, Matchroom top rank, they can make some deals. You see
yeah.
some out there, but I'm just wondering, how is it in terms of those negotiations with PBC? And because I feel like there are a lot of fighters out there on the PBC sphere, especially at 147, but we're usually only seeing them fight in-house PBC fighters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't really. PBC, yeah. I don't know if I even heard of it before. I don't really have. We don't get so many American channels here, but
Yeah.
well, now he is no longer. He's now with the Zone, of course, as you know, Eddie Hearn, and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
now practically an American promoter. You
Oh
can
yeah,
say,
yeah. Matchroom USA seems to be doing pretty well.
yeah, it's going really well, and he's really working hard. Obviously, he's
Hey, I gotta
been,
give him props. I have to give him
yeah,
props. I think he's like the top promoter out there for my money. Just thinking
yeah,
about it, and he's not scared to take chances. Like he was doing that YouTube stuff, and now as you see, others are kind of taking that on. You know, he hosted that Logan Paul KSI fight, and
yeah,
then like a Jake Paul fight or whatever. But now you can see Showtime's jumped in the mix, Triller, all of that stuff. So I think people are taking notice, and I think Eddie Hearn he's been right in terms of um, thinking about it from a business standpoint and how this can expand the sport as far as viewing audiences. And of course, you're not going to retain every viewer or whatever, but I do think that in some sense this does put the sport out there a bit more, you know, to some of the casual fans or those who haven't really watched boxing much over the years and only typically tune in for a big fight, you know.
mm, yeah.
And I think Hearn is good with that.
Yeah, definitely. He really works hard, and this was, of course, very unlucky. What happened after they had finally made that big fight between Joshua and Fury?
Oh
That
yeah,
stuff was very, very unfortunate, and
oh yeah. Speaking of that, we should probably jump into some of those upcoming fights. But you are correct. That was a highly anticipated fight. I don't know how that even happens in terms of this fight being announced
true.
and pretty much looking like it was a done
Yeah,
deal between Joshua and Fury, all of a sudden to be derailed right there in the midst of them promoting it essentially.
I really don't know. It shouldn't have happened, but it did for some reason. There is absolutely no need for a third fight because, of course, we saw in the first fight Wilder was completely outboxed, right? In the second fight, he
Hmm.
was completely smashed. So, what can he do now? Even older, and after not fighting for so long, I really don't
Yeah,
know what he's expecting, but he's obviously not so. He's not in touch with reality, is he? Right?
yeah.
So,
He's been posting a lot of as of late. He had went in the dark immediately after that loss, but as of late, he's been posting a lot of videos of him training with Malik Scott or whatever. Hitting the mitts is one thing though, so it can be deceiving, And he looks like he's thrown in some new movements. He's actually going to get in there and try to box, but hitting the mitts, as I said, is one thing. Whatever happens when you actually get in the ring is a whole different story.
you cannot change at that point, right? At that age, it's too late to
Yeah,
really change as a fighter. So,
especially if you're talking fundamentals, and he lacked a
yeah,
lot of the fundamentals because he's been able to rely on the right hand for so long that it's going to be hard to just infuse that type of skill against a guy like Tyson Fury who his bread and butter has been actual boxing and his skills surrounding the fundamental
yeah,
side of the sport. So
boxing, landing enough punches, all that stuff.
yeah,
And
I don't think Wilder has the enough boxing skill in him to outbox the likes of Tyson Fury.
no, he's a one-trick pony, so definitely he doesn't. If he wasn't able to do that in 2018 when they fought this December, then I don't see how he can do it now. Because
Yeah,
Fury was he was kind of weaker physically back then than he is now. So,
yeah,
but
you're right, and for all intents and purposes, and I think we've mentioned this previously. Uh, Unlike Fury in his first title reign, he seems to have still been staying active and dedicated to training and being in the gym. So
hmm,
I think that even though it's been a layoff for him, Wilder as well, I think he's probably going to come in top shape, Fury that is, and ready to give
Hmm.
it a go. Similar to what he did in
Yeah,
the last ones.
definitely. He's very dedicated. He's got the right trainer now, also,
Yeah,
who's teaching him how to punch, how to maximize his power and all that. You
yeah, and I
see,
think that'll be the difference too. Having
yeah.
spent more time with him.
The British, I have noticed, not to knock on anyone, but trainers, I wouldn't say they are always that good at teaching their fighters how to sit on their punches, how to maximize the power, because
Yeah.
you got, for instance, Lee Selby. Early on in his career, he
Oh
showed that
yeah,
he has some power. He scored some good knockouts. But then he just, became about boxing and moving, and he wasn't really throwing
yeah,
his punches right and all that. So I would say that's what. But the American trainers are usually better at that. You know.
yeah, and and Crunk Gym was always known for having punchers. That's like their
Yeah.
specialty. You know,
Tommy Harrison.
the
Who else?
Hitman.
Yeah, the Hitman. Uh, well, yeah, Michael Moore was also for a
Oh yeah,
while.
Michael Moore. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. So yeah, they have that pedigree.
Yeah.
Hey, looking at it, so another big fight coming up, I guess next weekend actually is Teofimo Lopez against George
Oh,
Cambosos
yeah.
of
Cambosos.
Australia.
He's very, very confident, that guy Cambosos. He has been
Oh yeah, he
like
is.
saying he will take over now and beat Teofimo and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I kind of
yeah.
liked. I thought Lee Selby did well in that last fight. When I was watching it, I didn't think it was a. But maybe I didn't. Maybe I could have been kind of sleepwalking through it. But I thought Lee Selby had made that fight fairly close, and if Lee Selby would have
Yeah.
won, I wouldn't have been mad at it.
It was close, yeah. I don't remember. I didn't see the entire fight, I believe, but I watched like the last half or something. It was in towards the end, also very, very close. Yeah.
So yeah, so what I will say is just giving what we've seen from Teofimo Lopez, it seems that a guy with Cambosos' style would kind of play into Teofimo Lopez's favor, sort of like the case with Richard Comey or
Mm.
yeah, or others
Yeah,
who are kind of come in and really want to duke it out and brawl it out on
yeah,
the inside.
aggressive and yeah, come forward. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cambosos definitely strikes me as that kind of fighter. He's not likely to not just be very defensive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that makes it interesting. This is going to be on Triller, if I'm not mistaken. But they were announcing during last night's fight between Stevenson and Nakatila that Teofimo Lopez has re-signed a deal, an extension with Top Rank out through 2023.
Okay.
So they renegotiated the contracts and everything. So because there was a big question as to how the relationship would be once the last fight went to purse bid. And hey, top ranking Tiafimo, they've been able to work it out. So he's going to be there, going to be around at least until
Oh yeah.
2023.
Yeah. Now he's the king of the hill at 135. So, but
Yeah,
I think it's not so fair. I mean, of course, he's entitled to his opinion, but that Lomachenko fight was pretty. It was very close, I thought, and that his attitude. Oh no, I don't have to fight him again. I don't like that. He should be, able to
hmm
give him a rematch if Lomachenko wants that. So it would be kind of,
yeah,
same as Roy Jones with Bernard Hopkins. Oh no, I
oh
already
yeah,
beat him once. Why should I fight him again? Like, so because
yeah,
it's boxing, that happens. Sometimes fighters lose they're for the first time. Maybe they are not prepared enough. Maybe they underestimate their opponent. I don't know. So the second time
Yeah,
they usually do better.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't think that would be too bad of a fight. If they ultimately ended up
Yeah.
mixing it up again. And in that regard, Lomachenko, he's not taking any easy routes because he's taking on Masayoshi Nakatani in his next fight, which I think
All
is
right.
which I think he's doing this because he probably wants to send a message to Teofimo Lopez, and of course we'll see Nakatani. He's a tough guy. He can take heavy punches.
Yeah.
He's taking punches from he's taking them from Lopez. Felix Verdejo couldn't
Oh yeah. Yeah.
he went through some huge bombs in that fight and came back to stop him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he looks with Vasily Lomachenko, and if Lomachenko were to defeat him in maybe impressive fashion or anything of that nature, then I think some people are going to be clamoring for that rematch for sure.
Vasily will make him look silly.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because
Yeah.
Nakatani, so far
Yeah.
nobody's been able to fully solve him.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? I am not saying really that it will happen, but
Yeah.
Japan has now had some pretty good, punchers lately. I
Oh yeah.
guess that guy Shigeru Nakazato also. I think he fought this weekend also.
Oh
I'm not
yeah.
sure where he
Nakasato.
how it went,
Hmm.
but I believe he's also rather of a puncher.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I'm trying to see. I wonder if I've seen him. If I actually saw him.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe not.
Shigeru. Yeah, so yeah, he's got 18 KOs and 24 wins. Yeah, so he's pretty hard. Oh,
Okay.
oh, yeah. Oh no, sorry, I didn't. That's not him. I was thinking of someone else who had a kind of similar
Oh,
name. It was not the
uh,
same. This one is an older fighter that I've been. But anyway, there's a guy called Shigeru Nakamura or something. I'm not sure.
oh yeah. I know there's a Nakamura who's a wrestler,
Oh yeah,
Shinsuke Nakamura or something. But
Nakamura.
yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Or he was a karate. It says here, fighter. Wow.
and
Anyway, they
he's a
really
big
have.
puncher.
Yeah,
Cool.
has,
I have to check him out. I don't know that I've seen him, but I definitely have to check him out.
mm,
And of course, the monster Naoya Inoue is going to be coming back and fighting on the
yeah.
19th as well against Michael
No way.
Dasmarinez. I don't think I've
Oh
seen
no, this
him
guy
fight
didn't fight.
before, but
Sorry. Yeah,
so yeah. Oh, he's a Filipino. Yeah, he's going to come in tough and all that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how the monster looks. But definitely another top tier fighter in the world representing Japan.
yeah. That's right.
All right, and I'm looking at some of the other fights that are coming up as well. It looks like um, Erickson Lubin is going to be taking on Jason Rosario, which I think will be a very interesting fight.
All right.
Uh, we may have spoke about it in the past, but I think this will be a telling fight for both of them. I think one of them, the winner, is going to come out with potential of being right back in title contention. And
Yeah.
then, we'll see what happens with the other one. Is going to have to try and battle their way back, or maybe they even move up in weight. But I think it's a good, even matchup
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, and also, yeah, I agree definitely. To both are punchers also, so it's bound. It's a, it's a high chance that a good chance it will end in a knockout. That fight, I guess.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So,
also there's Jamal Charlo fighting next weekend. but against
Oh yeah,
Juan Macias Montiel. I don't know that guy, but he
yeah. I don't
seems
really know him either.
he's a hard puncher anyway. All his wins are by knockout. 22.
So I'm pulling. I pulled up his thing. So he's been in there with Jaime Munguia, lost via KO in the second round. Which of course Munguia is a tough outing. He's got a draw with Hugo Centino Jr.,
Mm,
which Hugo Centino he's a pretty decent fighter for sure. And
definitely.
he got a this is the guy that knocked out James Kirkland
Yeah.
last year.
Yes, man.
He got it. So now I see.
He
All
retired,
right.
I guess, James Kirkland.
Yeah, hopefully he stays retired. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So okay. So yeah, I guess that would be interesting. But I think that I don't see. I think Charlo has the enough power to get Messias out of there, or
mm,
Montiel out of there. We'll
yeah.
see, of course, what goes down. But and the verdict's still out on Jamal as far as of course his 160 campaign. He does have that. Well, I guess his best victory being Sergey Derevianchenko.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one of the things we've talked about in the past is since his move to 160, he's had some pretty decent fights, but nothing just sort of out
Yeah.
there in a sort of superstar type fashion that will make you think that okay, yeah, this is the defining fight for him.
Yeah, I'd say he's been maneuvered pretty smart, pretty
Yeah,
tactically. So he hasn't had, yeah, too many really challenging fights yet, but hopefully soon he will.
and the WBA they essentially or WBC they essentially made him champion or elevated him to champion without him having to fight for that WBC title,
Oh
if I
wow,
recall correctly, because they did the
Lennox
if I'm
Lewis.
not mistaken,
Yeah.
this might have been when they were doing that little franchise champion type stuff.
Oh,
Uh,
that's
yeah, that's if I'm not mistaken, but I think that was the case. What happened there, you know, which is
wow.
interesting.
Yeah,
Same
definitely.
happened for Haney. That's how Haney got that WBC belt.
Yeah, like you've been a good boy. Here's your belt.
Yeah, without a doubt. Oh yeah, and speaking of that, I didn't catch that Haney fight when he took on. I didn't catch all of it when he took on Jorge
Linares.
Linares. But hey, it looked to be pretty good and action packed. I caught
Yeah,
more of the tail end of it, and I did walk away from the parts that I had seen, thinking that hey, Linares, hey, he's still a player
yeah. I
there at
mean,
135.
I expected him to be taken out, because he's had
Yep.
a couple of devastating losses recently, rather recent. But he's shown that he still has, he still has got boxing IQ and all that. He's got, you know,
Yeah.
enough in him, enough left in him to at least give a guy like Haney a good fight.
Yeah, he does. I think that definitely shows. Yeah, he's still a top level type of player right there around that. That the top 10 range or whatever. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. As far as
Yeah.
will another title shot elude him? You know.
He's not that old, but he's had a very long career because he started as a young, rather young
Oh
as a
yeah,
pro. So yeah,
he's well traveled too.
yeah, that's right. He used to live in Japan, I believe. So
Yeah.
from Venezuela to Japan, it's quite a journey.
Yeah, he's been a lot, and he's been at sort of that top level for a number of years now.
Hmm.
So he is definitely a
Yeah,
name that looks good on the resume if you're one of the ones that are able to stop him or whatever, or beat him, or defeat him in general. So that looks good for Haney from that perspective, and what is definitely his biggest fight thus far. And I think a
yeah,
respectable enough opponent where people can say, okay, yeah, I think that Haney, yeah, he does have some of the things that could see him being a major mover at 135. So the question is,
Yeah,
what's next for him? And I know in last night's broadcast, they were tossing out the potential of Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney at 135, assuming Lopez gets past
that's the
Cambosos, which many
fight.
feel.
Yeah, right now that is the fight at 135, the number one, I guess.
Yeah.
If for
And these
nothing
guys are
else,
always
that
going back and forth with each other, too,
yeah,
throwing
yeah,
shots.
that was very amusing when when Teofimo said when I told him, yeah, Haney is the only other champion. Oh, no, no, he's not. No, he's not.
Yeah. So it's like that fight is just it's meant for TV. It has to happen, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
it
think it'll
really
be a good
has.
one.
It almost has to happen. Yeah, that's right.
Come on, don't let us down, boxing world. But I think that
Yeah,
top ranking matchroom, they can definitely make something happen. I feel as though that's the
yeah.
case, you know.
I really can't see. I don't know really, but anything is possible. But I really, I think favor Teofimo to win.
Yeah, same here. Same here. That's not to take anything away from Haney, but
Yeah, it's not.
definitely, I
He's
just think
sure.
that
Yeah,
yeah, Haney is Lopez is is a little bit more battle tested. Of course, that win over Lomachenko is just kind of trumps anything that Haney has done,
yeah,
and a lot of fighters for that matter.
by
And
far.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
even
just
though
stylistically,
you might argue Lomachenko was not at his very best, but it's still him. It's still Lomachenko,
yeah,
like a really
yeah.
amazing fighter. Yeah,
Yep, and because many didn't expect him to get that W, so it puts even more
yeah.
emphasis on it. So that'll be interesting. I think it's a good matchup between Lopez and Haney. Just thinking
Hmm.
about it for two boxers, the
Two
explosiveness
young
of
guys.
Lopez against
Yeah. They are
Haney's
young
speed.
guys, because Loma is already, what's 32 or something, 33, I don't know.
Yeah,
So he's
yeah,
not
he is.
very young anymore. He's still, not old, but he's not a
Yeah,
really young guy. So, yeah.
yeah, and there's some urgency there for Loma, which is probably why he's taking on Nakatani because he wants to show, hey, I'm
Yeah.
still here and I want this title back, So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, he's trying to, yeah, I guess get another title before he eventually loses his prime, before he
Yeah.
runs out of time. Father time catches up with him.
Oh yes, it definitely does.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then two other good fights that are coming up are that at least are worth mentioning. Definitely are Joseph Diaz against Javier Fortuna and Gilberto Ramirez against Sullivan Barrera.
Oh yeah,
Two interesting fights right there. Fortuna
very
Diaz, of
very
course. Yeah, Fortuna
yeah
Diaz, of course. Yeah, that's a very interesting matchup stylistically. I want to see how. I think this is a move up to, or maybe Diaz's last fight was a move up to 130 or whatever. But or maybe he's been fighting. I know he was overweight in his last fight, but anyway, stylistically, I think that's going to be interesting. Fortuna can box, of course. We'll see how he handles that sort of relentlessness of Joseph Diaz, who I think is
yeah.
one of the better fighters on the inside, of course, here in the sport. So it's
For-
interesting.
Fortuna can also punch, so he's the bigger puncher here, definitely. And but
Yeah.
Diaz is maybe, I don't know, a little fresher, perhaps.
Oh yeah,
Fortuna,
yeah, definitely.
yeah. He hasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know who said. Well, Fortuna said a little more fights so far, but
hmm
he's been in some tough ones, I guess. Also,
He's been in some pretty good matchups. I actually pulled up his thing here, just thinking back. Yeah, he's fought Jesus Cuellar, even though
yeah, it
Cuellar
was.
hadn't looked super good for
Yeah,
years
very
now.
easy win for for Tuna.
Yeah, yeah. He's got Adrian Granados. That was basically. Oh yeah, I guess that's
Yeah,
no contest. I remember when that fight was happening. It was
yeah,
just weird. Fortuna. I thought Fortuna was acting, but I don't know. but yeah, he
yeah.
got a loss to Robert Easter Jr.
Split
Jason
decision.
Sosa beat him as well.
Oh yeah, that was the big upset when he was stopped in the 11th round or
Yeah.
something.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jason Sosa. Yeah.
yeah, that
Hey,
was
so
the
yeah,
guy
he's
who
getting
was
there.
who was totally embarrassed by Loma later.
Yeah. So I was at that fight. That was here at
Okay.
the MGM in Maryland. I was able to catch that fight, seeing Loma live. He's definitely put on a show, and you could just
Yeah,
see skill wise that he was top tier. His footwork is so crazy.
yeah, like Superman.
And that was one of the better shows that I've been to. They made it a sort of top, at least at the top level, Ukrainian card because Alexander Usyk took on Michael Hunter on that card, and then I believe
Gwozdik,
Dubois was there and
yeah,
fought as well, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it was a good card, and the atmosphere was great as well. There were a lot of Ukrainians in the area who came out
yeah,
and
right.
really showed support.
Yeah, that's nice always. Yeah, I think Wozik is on his way back. I follow him on Instagram. He looks to be in training and pretty positive, despite
Oh,
the
Dubois.
loss. Yeah,
Oh,
Wozik.
so he's gonna come back. Can't stay away long, huh?
Yeah. So
All
that
right.
first loss, yeah, even though it was kind of devastating, but it was no shame to lose to better view.
I mean, no shame. Yeah, definitely no shame in losing to
And
better
at
via.
least
Definitely.
he lasted 10 rounds, so that was
Yeah.
not so bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely no shame in that. I mean, I think that he outside of that, he's like one of the top guys. At least when last seen, he's still one of the top guys that is out there.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's
that was a good fight.
mm. Yeah, definitely. It's just he's one of the top guys still at 175. Just that Beterbiev is such a beast. He's like
Yeah.
fighting
Interesting.
machine, war
Yes, he
machine.
is. Yeah,
Yeah,
even just looking at him train and all of that stuff, you can just see that he's just like an animal.
yeah,
He's an animal.
werewolf.
Yeah, definitely. So,
Just yeah,
yeah, so yeah, 175. Yeah, it's still 175 is still a division that's out there that we're gonna see some things ironed out. So maybe we get better Biev against Joe Smith, and as mentioned, Gilberto Ramirez versus Sullivan Barrera, which I think interesting fight. Ramirez, Gilberto Zerdo. I feel he had a lot of momentum, but
mm,
I feel like all of that momentum is gone now, and he's just
yeah.
another guy, and he's
He
going to need
was
to do
so
something impressive.
Yeah, at 168 he had momentum and all that, but now maybe not so much. Pretty much like maybe Omar Figueroa, who was at
Yeah,
135. He was really
yeah.
solid, but now he's at what 147 or something, and
Oh yeah,
he's
he looked
just
horrible in his last fight.
yeah, he just
As
losing.
in, he just looked, he just looked out of it for the
Yeah,
most part while he
sometimes
was in there.
some of them can handle that weight jump, I guess, and just cannot
Yeah,
find themselves, the old. Yeah,
yeah. He was just pretty much taking a beating, and I don't know what the situation is with him, but he seems to have a lot of issues with his trainer or lack thereof as of late, or
yeah.
something like that. Omar
That would
Figueroa.
that would explain a lot, I guess.
Because I know one of the fights he didn't even. The fight might have been the one before this last one where he was fighting and he didn't even have a trainer, so he was just going back into
Wow.
his corner. And I think I know that there was this one girl. I don't know if it was his girlfriend or what. And then like another person just working on his face, but he wasn't getting any instructions or anything.
His girlfriend was his cutman.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's like crazy. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting thinking about that because yeah, his brother, he sees that momentum now, and
Oh
he's like
yeah, that's
one of the
right.
top
His
guys out
younger,
there.
yeah, younger brother. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, and he looks good for the most part. But yeah, yeah, thinking about Gilberto Ramirez versus Sullivan Barrera. I guess that's pretty much kind of an even matchup. I don't know if I favor either guy. I would say it's a 50-50 toss up.
Yeah, maybe I slightly favor Ramirez. He can still box. He's a tall guy also, I guess. I don't know how tall. Maybe Barrera is almost as
Yeah,
tall.
he's probably almost 6'3". I know he's close
Yeah,
to probably that 6'3" range, if
yeah.
I'm not mistaken. I always wanted to see, and unfortunately it didn't get to happen, but I wanted to see Gilberto Ramirez versus um, Liam Smith, or which is a tall brother,
Callum.
Callum Smith.
Yeah,
Yeah, Callum Smith. I wanted to see that fight. I thought that would have been
yeah,
a good matchup of two big 168 pounders.
yeah. There's a few fights that should have happened, but didn't. Of course,
Yeah.
that's one of those definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have been interesting. But yeah, Ramirez, yeah, hasn't really done much. I was just looking at 175. He beat
Oh, it's
Tommy
been.
Karpinski, but Karpinski, yeah, he's like a sort of a club level
Yeah,
fighter. No disrespect to him, but his claim to fame was beating, I guess, faded Chad Dawson and then
very
Alfonso
average.
Lopez.
Yeah, very average. I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all it. I guess that's his best win so far at 175. But I think Barrera will tell us a lot, or this fight with Barrera will tell us a lot about where Ramirez is and if he's going to be a legitimate player at 175.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see. I guess.
All
Yeah.
right, yeah. One last thing. Yeah, I know we've been going at it, but were you able to catch Clarissa Shields in her MMA debut?
Oh no, I don't really
Okay,
watch MMA. I'm sorry.
gotcha. I catch it every now and then. I know some of the guys. I used to watch it more, probably several years back, but yeah, now I don't really watch a lot of this stuff. I'll tune in like when boxing goes off or something if they have a card running over. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Clarissa, yeah, she actually won her MMA debut with a stoppage in the third round.
Wow.
She was able to get the girl on the ground, and this was after recovering from. She was going up against a girl who was more so a ground fighter, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu type of person. So she had Clarissa down in the first two rounds, and Clarissa spent a lot of time trying to get up and battle her way out of those ground positions. But she was able to pull off the W. So we'll see. She wants to be an MMA champion and a boxing champion at the same time. So
Good luck
it'll be
with
interesting.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things is she fights at 150. Her MMA fight was at 155, but I think that this pro fight league may be like the only one that has like a 155-pound division. You know, so I don't
Yeah.
know if there's a ton of competition out there
There
for it,
were
really.
talks of her fighting Katie Taylor, I believe, yeah. So that would be like the big fight
Yeah,
for women's
that
boxing.
would be my whole question is what weight it would be made at. Because it's either Kaylee Taylor will have to jump up two weight classes to
Yeah,
147, or
she's a welterweight or something. Oh, oh,
yeah, so
yeah,
Taylor's at 135 now,
oh, yeah,
and Clarissa so far, she was able to get down to 154 and became undisputed there. So now it's a matter of can she get to 147? Because I
right.
see that being the probably only weight with,
Solution.
I
Yeah.
guess, legitimate kind of backing as far as her facing Katie Taylor. Because if Katie Taylor goes up to 154, it just seems like that's a big
Hmm.
jump. And I know Clarissa has come down from 168, so she's kind of in that sort of weird space
Wow.
weight wise. Like all of the bigger fights besides the Savannah Marshall fight, which I want to see and hopefully can be made at 160 pounds. But besides that, there's really not too much competition left for
Yeah,
her at 154 and above. I mean, she has the undisputed titles at both of the weights, so
yeah,
it's really going to be 147. You know?
that's the problem with women's boxing. There, so many divisions. There is not so much good competition. There's one fighter that
Yeah,
is much stronger than the others.
yeah,
Usually. So they usually have to do that. One has to lose weight, or the other one has to gain weight to,
yeah,
for two stars to fight. So, but
yeah, yeah. And that makes it interesting because yeah, Taylor has more options now without going to 147. You know, with
yeah,
some of the other fighters that are around, Michaela Mayer is around
oh
that weight.
yeah,
You know, Jessica McCaskill has the belts at 147,
yeah, her too.
and that's a potential shot right there. So I think it's really a matter of can Clarissa Shields make 147, which of
Mm,
course the verdict's still out, and if she does make it, how does that affect her? You know.
mm. Yeah, that's right. I don't. Mm. Oh, and
Ooh,
one more thing for the end.
all right.
Savage Babic, she was also back
Oh yeah.
last night, but he won like the last time in 3 rounds. He beat that guy who was he had a record of 11-1, I believe, at his opponent. So yeah,
Oh, okay. So yeah, I didn't catch that fight. Alan Babic.
yeah. So he
So I'm
won
pulling it up.
like usual, but his opponent did give him some resistance. It wasn't just a blowout like against Tom Little. Yeah,
All right. Oh yeah, I see. Yeah. So Damian Chambers. So
yeah, Chambers.
Babic came in at 209.
Yeah, so he's not a big heavyweight, of course.
Oh
That's why
yeah.
some people are saying he should go down, to cruiserweight or I don't know, bridgerweight.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it seems like it's a weight he could certainly make because he's even fought. And looking at his last four fights, one was at against Nail Kennedy. He was 199
Yeah,
and a half or the fourth, and then he was 205 prior to that. So yeah, he's really more in that territory. I know we were talking about this previously in terms of Babic and potential of him and Filip Hergovich,
Hergovich,
which
yeah.
would be an interesting fight, right? So
That will be pretty big weight disparity. I think Hergovich,
yeah,
he should be
yeah,
at
definitely
least,
would.
yeah, like 250 or something. He's a huge guy, 6 foot.
Yeah, Erkovich is a big guy,
Yeah,
so yeah, that has to be taken into account. And pretty much all of the top heavyweights at this point are just big guys in
yeah,
general.
really.
You know,
Like
even
at
Usyk
least,
is bigger than him. You know,
yeah, at least 6'4" and 240 or 35. That's like the average heavyweight right now. 6'5".
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't feel like we're going to get a true sort of understanding of where Babic would come into play at heavyweight until he fights one of these sort of bigger guys that can
Yeah.
give some guy trouble, or even not even, and they don't have to be big height wise, but just say someone like, and he may not be ready for it. It's only 7 fights in, Carlos Takam or something, who's a
Oh
guy.
yeah.
He'll have Babic will have the height on him, so it'll be interesting to
Oh
see how
yeah.
he handles a fighter like that, or like a Bryant Jennings or something. Those are
Uh,
sort of fringe top 10 type guys, you know. But I
I
don't know if
know.
that may be a little too soon for him. But he
Yeah.
is 30 years old, so I'm sure he wants to fast track it too.
Mm. I don't know how well his style will hold up, at a higher level because what he does, he just goes out there and throws a lot of punches, very aggressive, like Tyson was.
Yeah,
And he just breaks down his opponents, but that I don't know how well that will work against someone that can defend themselves and box and who are also
yeah,
taller or bigger or whatever.
Yeah, that is true, and someone who can definitely dish it back in a
Yeah.
major way,
Then
dish
he
the
will be
punishment back.
forced. Yeah, he will be forced to dig deep. So I don't know if he
So
can
yeah,
do that. So, but
yeah,
anyway, he's very exciting. Yeah, he's an exciting and fun guy.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree. He does have an excitement factor. It has that personality.
Yeah,
So
people
I
like.
definitely understand it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone I have spoken to who likes him. So
Yeah,
he's very charismatic. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that he's the type of fighter that can make a name for himself at
Mm,
least here over the next couple of years, even if he isn't fighting the top of the division because it just has an exciting style or whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, it will be interesting when that time does come, that sort of time to step up, especially if he has intentions of trying to get a world title at heavyweight, which is
Yeah.
just a tough proposition these days in general, you know.
Yeah, of course. Two
That's for
guys.
any heavyweight not named Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, or
Yeah.
Deontay Wilder. It seems.
Two guys holding all the belts. That's not exactly ideal situation, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
it's
know.
good. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Could
Yeah,
you imagine if I think Fury's gonna win this fight with uh, Wilder, but imagine if Wilder won, that's gonna sort of
that would really
leave the
mess up.
WBC belt tangled up for who knows how long.
Yeah. No,
And
I
then,
think,
yeah,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, definitely. Yes. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
All right. So 1:31, an hour
Yeah,
31 minutes. Feel like that's the time to wrap it up.
yeah, we were good.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of good discussions. Of course, yeah. Thanks for all the
Yeah,
listeners as well. But yeah, definitely. Until next time, there's a lot of good stuff coming up. We covered. So Slaven, I must say, have a good night because I know it's night there.
yeah.
We're still in the midst of the
Even
evening
though it's
here.
still light, but that's how it is here in June. In summer, pretty much.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
never really
Interesting.
dark. It never gets too dark. All right.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. My girlfriend. She lived in Alaska, and she
yeah.
would tell me it was
Northern
like that
light.
there.
Oh yeah.
It's really
That's e-
just dusk and dawn. Is like as dark as it gets, right?
yeah. That's even worse, I guess. There, it doesn't. There's no night at all, right?
And I experienced a little bit of that when I was in Finland
Oh
a
yeah,
couple of years back.
there. Yeah.
Because I remember, yeah, it was like midnight, and yeah, it was still lit up
So
outside. I was just like,
you
interesting.
need sunglasses.
Yeah, yeah, it was like craziness. Heck of an
Yeah,
experience.
that's really.
But yeah,
Yeah.
cool. All right,
All right.
Slaven. Well, until then, or
Yeah.
until next time, definitely have a good one. We'll be connecting again.
Yeah. Same to you. All right. Take it easy. Take
Thanks.
care.